The last thing that I wanted to mention about why it's important to know your edge is that it prevents you from making mistakes on later streets. So what I mean by that is if you understand, for example, that your opponent folds to too many c-bets on the flop, that should, not only should you be exploiting him for that, but you should then make the adjustment not to barrel as much. Like, for example, if you c-bet a flop and your opponent calls and he folds to a lot of c-bets, on the turn, maybe a really good barrel card comes on the turn. But before just thinking, oh, okay, I've got a good barrel card, I should barrel, you should instead... what happened here? Did he limp the button? No, sorry, he raised and I threw that. I tried to squeeze the fish and he flatted. Okay, cool. See, I'm autopiloting now while talking about all this stuff, which is exactly what you shouldn't be doing. So he calls. I'm going to check fold this flop just because he's a fish and this flop hits his range a lot more than it hits ours. And on table 2, I'm going to check call because I think Fat Dan has some floats in his range. It's also a good card to bet for value because he's going to have a lot of like King X with a heart, 9X with the hearts, and pairs with a heart. And now I think it's a good spot to overbet. We're never beat, really. If he folds an ace. Oh, see, we can either bet really small or we can overbet. I don't think it's a good idea to bet like 75% pot because I think that's, we get a call from an ace, probably get a fold from a king. If we bet really small, we get a call from a king. We overbet, we might get a fold from an ace. I think I'm going to just go really small and try to get a call from a king. So something like, I think 75 is good. So, and he folds, so that's fine. He can definitely have a lot of worse hands. I think betting the turn is also a good play. Maybe the better play. I'm not really sure. I'd have to go through like a CardRunners EV calculator or something. I'm going to just call with Ace Jack on table 3 and check call this flop, which is pretty standard. I don't have too much information on Dougie. It's not a board that he's really going to barrel, but if I check raise here, I don't really know how he's going to react at all. I don't really have too many stats in him. Don't really know how he's going to react to a raise on this type of board texture. So I'll just check call. I don't mind even donking the turn now because if we check, I don't think he's going to be value betting like a worse ace for 2 streets. So I don't mind just donking like just over half pot to try and get value from his worse aces and some of his draws, which he might check back from time to time on the turn. Yeah, so anyway, like I was saying, if you see a bit of flop and your opponent folds to a lot of c-bets, and a good barrel card comes in the turn, you need to be aware that your opponent folds to a lot of c-bets in the flop, so his turn range is a lot stronger. So for this reason, barreling the turn might not be the best idea. Kind of ties in with autopiloting, but it just knowing your edge on on your opponent will help you make less mistakes on future streets. When you know your edge, for example, an opponent folding to too many small blinds. Well, we shouldn't be really playing too aggressively. And this is interesting. He raises the turn. I'm not really sure what he's doing this with. I think he can possibly do this with just trying to think. Definitely not a normal line. I took an unorthodox line, but if I was in his position, someone took this line, I don't think I would really be raising as a bluff too often here. I can't imagine I'd be raising anything worse than like Ace King here. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna fold. I think if he had total air, he's just gonna fold. It's going to be very hard for me to play rivers as well. So if he has like a pair, I don't think he's going to turn it into a bluff like 10x, 9x, jacks, queens, kings type hand. So I think folding there's fine. as much as I'd be really interested to know what he's doing that with.